8 months ago, a woman named Diane walked into a mortgage broker's office with a credit score of 618. The broker leaned back, looked at his screen, and delivered the news she'd been dreading. She would qualify, technically, but the interest rate would hurt. Close to 7.2% on a 30-year mortgage. On the $320,000 home she had her eye on, that rate would cost her more than $190,000 extra in interest compared to someone with excellent credit. Same house, same neighborhood, just a different 3-digit number. Diane asked if she could come back in 3 months before locking anything in. The broker shrugged. Sure, but don't get your hopes up. Credit scores don't move that fast. 89 days later, Diane walked back through that same door. Her score was 759. The broker stared at his screen. He asked her to confirm her date of birth, then her address. He was convinced there had been some kind of mix-up. There hadn't been. Diane had simply learned something about how credit scores are calculated that most people never find out. Not because it requires a lawyer or a loophole, but because the institutions that profit from your low score have absolutely no reason to tell you about it. That 141-point jump saved Diane an estimated $228,000 in lifetime mortgage interest. Same house, same income, same person, different knowledge. Today I'm going to show you exactly what Diane learned. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the conventional advice, pay on time, be patient, wait years, is technically accurate but practically misleading. There is a faster path. The system allows it. Nobody with a financial incentive will ever tell you about it. Why conventional advice keeps you trapped. The standard advice goes like this: pay your bills on time, keep your balances low. Don't open too many accounts, and wait. Just wait. Let your history age slowly, and eventually your score will climb. This advice isn't wrong. It's just incomplete, in a way that benefits lenders enormously. Here's what that incompleteness costs you. Every month you spend in the fair or good credit categories, instead of excellent, you pay a tax, higher interest rates on your cards, worse terms on your car loan, a steeper mortgage rate, higher insurance premiums, bigger security deposits when you rent. The credit score tax is one of the most consistent ways that money quietly flows from people with less financial knowledge to the institutions that profit from that gap. And why would banks want this to change? A customer with a 670 score who could have a 780 score is a more profitable customer. They pay higher rates. They generate more interest revenue. The bank has every reason to keep that customer in the lower category as long as possible, and zero reason to hand them the roadmap out. What Diane discovered is a mechanism built directly into the credit scoring system. Completely legal, explicitly recognized by the credit bureaus, and one of the most powerful tools available to anyone who wants to move faster than the conventional slow path allows. How credit scores actually work. Before I explain the mechanism, you need to understand what a credit score actually is. Your credit score is a statistical prediction of how likely you are to default on a debt within the next 24 months. The algorithm examines your credit history, compares your patterns to millions of other consumers, and produces a number between 300 and 850. 5 factors drive it. Payment history, whether you've paid on time, accounts for about 35%. Credit utilization, how much of your available credit you're using, accounts for about 30%. Length of credit history accounts for about 15%. Credit mix and new inquiries split the remaining 20%. Most people focus their energy on payment history and utilization. That covers 65% of the score, and it's solid. But here's where enormous opportunity gets left on the table: the length of credit history factor. Most people assume this is simply a function of time. You opened your first card at 22. You're 31 now. You have 9 years of history. Nothing to be done, just wait. That assumption is wrong, and that error is exactly where the mechanism lives. The authorized user strategy. When you become an authorized user on someone else's credit card account, that account's entire history appears on your credit report. The age, the payment history, the credit limit, the utilization, all of it gets imported onto your profile, as if you had been part of that account from the very beginning. Read that again. If your aunt has a credit card she opened 19 years ago with a spotless payment record and a low balance, and she adds you as an authorized user today, that 19-year-old account shows up on your credit report immediately. Your average account age could jump from 3 years to 11 years overnight. Your total available credit could double. Your longest account history could extend by nearly 2 decades. This is exactly what Diane did. Her older sister had 2 credit cards. One opened 17 years ago, one opened 14 years ago, both with perfect payment records, combined utilization under 6%. Diane asked her sister to add her as an authorized user on both. Her sister agreed, never handed Diane a physical card, and never gave her account access. The addition was purely strategic. Within 2 billing cycles, roughly 45 days, both accounts appeared on all 3 of Diane's credit reports. Her thin file suddenly looked established. Her short history suddenly looked seasoned. Her score moved from 618 to 759. The broker who told her not to expect miracles had never explained this to her, and he never would have. Let me give you one more example to show how this plays out across different situations. Kevin was 26 with a score of 572. He had made mistakes in his early 20s, a missed payment, a maxed card. He needed to finance a used car, and every dealership quoted him rates between 15% and 18%. He needed the car to get to work. He was stuck. Kevin's uncle had been building credit since 1989. Immaculate history. Combined limits over $55,000, average utilization around 4%. Kevin explained the situation, and his uncle added him as an authorized user on his 2 oldest accounts. Cards open for 31 and 27 years respectively. No card was mailed. No account access was shared. Within 60 days, Kevin's score rose to 689. That number crossing one threshold changed everything. He qualified for auto financing at 5.9% instead of 16.4%. On a $22,000 car loan over 5 years. That difference saved him just over $5,800. His uncle spent 12 minutes on his credit card's website. 12 minutes. Nearly $6,000 saved. How to execute it correctly. The details matter. Getting them wrong can backfire. First, the account must be in genuinely good standing. Perfect or near-perfect payment history. Any missed payments will import onto your report alongside the positives and hurt rather than help. Utilization should be under 10%, ideally under 5%. The account should be old. The older, the better. Second, the primary account holder must be willing to add you. This is typically a parent, grandparent, older sibling, or a very trusted close friend. Many people add authorized users without ever providing a physical card. This is completely normal and protects the primary holder from any risk of misuse. Third, not every card issuer reports authorized user accounts to all 3 bureaus. The major issuers generally do. Some smaller banks and credit unions don't. Confirm reporting practices with a quick call to customer service before executing this. Fourth, impact appears within 1 to 2 billing cycles. You're not waiting months. You're waiting 30 to 60 days. Once the issuer reports the account, the history transfers almost immediately. Fifth, the primary holder can remove you at any time. If circumstances change, they simply remove your authorized user status. This makes the arrangement reversible and low risk for them. The size of the impact depends on where you're starting. Someone with a thin file and short history, like Diane, like Kevin, sees the largest gains. Someone with an established file still sees meaningful improvement. Even moving your average account age from 6 years to 10 years can add 25 to 35 points, and those points can mean the difference between 2 interest rate tiers on a mortgage. Is this legal? I know exactly what you're thinking. Is this actually legitimate? Yes. Unambiguously. The authorized user system was built into credit scoring models intentionally. FITO and VantageScore both incorporate authorized user accounts by design. The credit bureaus know this happens. Issuers know this happens. Nobody is hiding it from the industry. They're simply not advertising it to consumers. The original purpose was practical. In many households, one partner manages all the finances and opens accounts in their name only. The other partner ends up with little to no credit history, despite being part of a financially responsible home. Authorized user status was created to solve this, letting one partner share their established history with the other. Over time, people discovered the mechanism extended beyond couples. Parents could help adult children. The credit bureau saw no compelling reason to restrict this because it reflects a genuine financial relationship. One nuance worth knowing: some mortgage lenders using manual underwriting may look more carefully at authorized user accounts and weight them differently. But automated underwriting, which handles the vast majority of applications, accepts them at face value. Diane's application went through automated underwriting. That's why her 759 score was accepted without question. The authorized user strategy is the most powerful single lever. But there are two more worth understanding. The first involves a timing detail about utilization that most people completely miss. Utilization accounts for roughly 30% of your score. The optimal target is between 1% and 4%. But here's what almost nobody realizes. Utilization is calculated based on the balance reported on your statement closing date, not your payment due date. These are two different dates, and confusing them costs millions of people points they don't know they're losing. You might pay your credit card in full every single month and never pay a penny of interest. But if you're spending $2,500 on a card with a $4,000 limit and that balance appears on your statement before you pay it, the Bureau sees 62% utilization. Your score is being penalized despite completely responsible behavior. The fix is simple. Pay down your balance before the statement closing date, not just before the due date. Reduce your balance to under $100 before the statement closes, and the Bureau sees less than 3% utilization. Your score could jump 20 to 45 points simply by adjusting when in the month you make your payment. No new accounts, no waiting months, one calendar shift. The second additional lever is even simpler. Ask for more. Utilization is a ratio. You can improve it by reducing your balance, the numerator, or by increasing your total available credit, the denominator. Most people only think about the balance side. Almost nobody systematically raises their limits. Many major issuers, particularly American Express, will approve significant credit limit increases with no hard inquiry on your report. You log in, request an increase, they run a soft pull, often approved the same day. Your score doesn't take even a temporary hit. Think about what this does mathematically. Carrying $1,800 on a $4,500 limit puts you at 40% utilization. Get that limit raised to $9,000 and your utilization instantly drops to 20%, with no change in spending whatsoever. Your score improves because the math changed, not because anything else did. Request limit increases on all your cards every 6 to 12 months. Each increase nudges your overall utilization ratio lower. Over a few years, someone who started with $8,000 in total available credit can reach $40,000 or more simply by asking regularly. Banks will not remind you to do this. They prefer you stay at the limit that keeps you most profitable. But the option exists, and most people never use it. Let me give you a concrete plan based on where your score is right now. If your score is below 640, the authorized user strategy is your highest leverage move. Identify 1 to 3 family members with accounts that are old, clean, and lightly utilized. Have an honest conversation. Ask to be added, not for card access, just for the account history. At the same time, pull all 3 of your credit reports and dispute any items that are factually inaccurate. Pay any balances you're carrying below 10% of their limits before your next statement closing date. If your score is between 640 and 720, you're in the optimization zone where multiple smaller improvements compound quickly. Request credit limit increases on every card you hold. Shift your payment timing to reduce reported utilization. Consider the authorized user strategy if your account history is thin or short. Check for older negative items that might qualify for goodwill removal. A polite written request to a creditor you've since treated well sometimes results in that item being cleared. If your score is above 720, you're in solid territory for most purposes. But the difference between 740 and 780 is not trivial. It translates to meaningfully different mortgage rate offers and tens of thousands of dollars over a 30-year loan. Focus on utilization timing, limit increases, and maintaining the patterns you've already built. Regardless of your starting point, pull your credit reports annually and check for errors. Studies consistently show a significant percentage of credit reports contain inaccuracies, some minor, some serious enough to affect loan eligibility. Disputing legitimate errors is entirely separate from everything else I've described and should happen alongside it. Here is the deeper truth underneath all of these tactics. The credit scoring system was designed by lenders, for lenders. It predicts your risk to them, not to help you optimize your financial life. It reveals certain information and obscures other information in ways that consistently serve institutional interests over yours. Banks don't explain the authorized user strategy because it helps you escape their high-interest products faster than they'd like. The complexity of the system isn't accidental. It benefits the people who understand it at the direct expense of the people who don't. But the rules are knowable, and once known, they can be used. The gap between someone who understands how credit scores are calculated and someone operating on conventional wisdom alone translates directly into wealth differences over a lifetime. Lower mortgage rates, better auto loan terms, reduced insurance premiums. Those savings compound across every major financial decision for decades. Diane walked into that broker's office a second time with a 759 score and a completely different financial future ahead of her. She didn't earn more money. She didn't wait years. She learned how the system actually works. And she used that knowledge legally, intentionally, and effectively. That same knowledge is now yours. The mechanism isn't kept quiet because it's illegal. It's kept quiet because nobody who profits from your score staying low has any incentive to hand you the map. Now you have it. Subscribe to Eva Builds Wealth. Every week, the financial information that institutions understand perfectly and have no reason to share with you. See you in the next one.